3. Ermengarde. On that first morning, when Sarah sat in her seat, she had noticed very soon one little girl about her own age, who looked at her very hard, with a pair of light blue eyes. She was a fat child, who did not look as if she were clever, but she had a kind face. She had pulled the pigtail round her neck, and was biting the end of the ribbon, as she stared at the new pupil. When Monsieur Dufarge began to speak to Sarah, she looked a little frightened, and when Sarah stepped forward and answered him, in French, the fat little girl grew quite red in her amazement. She spent weeks in her efforts to remember French words, and it was almost too much for her to suddenly find herself listening to a child her own age who could speak French fluently. She stared so hard and bit the ribbon on her pigtail so fast that she attracted the attention of Miss Minchin, who was extremely cross at the moment. "Miss St. John," she exclaimed severely, "what do you mean by such conduct? Take your ribbon out of your mouth." Miss St. John became redder than ever, so red indeed that she almost looked as if tears were coming into her poor, silly, childish eyes. And Sarah saw her and was so sorry for her that she began to like her and want to be her friend. She always tried to help someone who was made uncomfortable or unhappy. When lessons were over and the pupils gathered together in groups to talk, Sarah looked for Miss St. John, and finding her in a window seat, she walked over to her and spoke. "What is your name?" she said. To explain Miss St. John's amazement, one must know that of this new pupil, the entire school had talked the night before in great excitement. A new pupil with a carriage and a pony and a maid and a voyage from India was not an ordinary girl. "My name's Ermengarde St. John," she answered. "Mine is Sarah Crewe," said Sarah. "Yours is very pretty. It sounds like a storybook." "Do you like it?" fluttered Ermengarde. I like yours." Miss St. John's main trouble in life was that she had a clever father. Ermengarde was a severe trial to Mr. St. John. He could not understand how a child of his could be such a dull creature with no talents at all. "She must be made to learn," her father said to Miss Minchin. So Ermengarde spent the greater part of her life in disgrace or in tears. She learned things and forgot them, or, if she remembered them, she did not understand them. "You can speak French, can't you?" she asked Sarah in admiration. Sarah got on to the window seat, which was a big, deep one, and sat with her hands clasped round her knees. "I can speak it because I have heard it all my life," she answered. "You could speak it if you had always heard it." "Oh, no, I couldn't," said Ermengarde. "I never could speak it. I can't say the words. They're so unusual." She paused a moment, and then added respectfully, "You are clever, aren't you?" Sarah wondered if she was, and if she was, how it had happened. "I don't know," she said. "I can't tell." Then, seeing a sad look on the round face, she laughed and changed the subject. "Would you like to see Emily?" she asked. "Who is Emily?" Ermengarde asked, just as Miss Minchin had done. "Come up to my room and see," said Sarah. They jumped down from the window seat together and went upstairs. "Is it true?" Ermengarde whispered, as they went through the hall. "Is it true that you have a playroom all to yourself?" "Yes," Sarah answered. "Papa asked Miss Minchin to let me have one because... well, it was because when I play I make up stories and tell them to myself, and I don't like people to hear me." Ermengarde stopped short, staring, and quite losing her breath. "You make up stories," she gasped. "Can you do that? As well as speak French? Can you?" Sarah looked at her in simple surprise. "Why, anyone can make up things," she said. "Have you never tried?" She put her hand on Ermengarde's. "Let us go very quietly to the door," she whispered, "and then I will open it quite suddenly. Perhaps we may catch her." Ermengarde had no idea what it meant, but she was sure it was something exciting. She followed her on tiptoe along the passage. Then Sarah suddenly opened the door. Ermengarde saw a neat and quiet room, a fire gently burning in the fireplace, and a wonderful doll sitting in a chair by it, apparently reading a book. "Oh, she got back to her seat before we could see her," Sarah exclaimed. Ermengarde looked from her to the doll and back again. "Can she walk?" she asked breathlessly. "Yes," answered Sarah. "At least, I believe she can. At least, I pretend I believe she can. Have you never pretended things?" "No," said Ermengarde. "Never. Tell me about it." She was so impressed by this odd new companion that she actually stared at Sarah instead of Emily. Sarah sat upon the rug and told her strange things. She told her stories of the voyage and stories of India. But what fascinated Ermengarde the most was her fancy about the dolls, who walked and talked, and who could do anything they chose when people were out of the room, but who must keep their powers a secret and get back to their places when people returned to the room. "We couldn't do it," said Sarah seriously. "You see, it's a kind of magic." Once, when Sarah was telling her the story of the search for Emily, Ermengarde saw her face suddenly change. Then Sarah said, "Do you love your father more than anything else in the whole world?" Ermengarde was greatly embarrassed. I scarcely ever see him," she stammered. "He is always in the library, reading things." "I love mine more than all the world 10 times over," Sarah said. "He has gone away. I promised him I would bear it, and I will. You have to bear things. Think what soldiers bear. Papa is a soldier." Ermengarde felt that she was beginning to adore her. She was so wonderful and different from anyone else. "If I go on talking and talking," she said, "and telling you things about pretending, I shall bear it better. You don't forget, but you bear it better." "Lavinia and Jessie are best friends," said Ermengarde. "I wish we could be best friends. You're clever, and I'm the stupidest child in the school, but I do so like you." "I'm glad of that," said Sarah. "We will be friends, and I can help you with your French lessons."